Okay, today we're going to be doing subtracting with base 10 blocks. Now before we begin, we need to introduce what a base 10 block is. So a base 10 block is based on cubes. So one of those cubes represents one whole. Alright, so if I add another one into here, we have two wholes. Alright, now base 10 block, everything is in multiples of 10, which makes it great. So once you reach the 10, you get a straight line rod that looks like that. So this rod, as you can tell, there are 10 cubes connected to make one rod. Okay? So remember, each cube represents one. This is a whole entire 10 cubes. And once we go beyond that, if we get 10 rods, we get one whole square, which represents 100 cubes. So altogether, you can see very faintly each of the little cubes all together. So a base 10 block, they are counting by ones and basically count by tens all the way up. Very useful tool when we're teaching math. Okay. So how do we use this when we're subtracting? First, we need a number or an equation. So let's just say that we had the equation of 487, and we're going to take away 295. Okay? Now, as we know, a subtraction, we're trying to find the difference. We're trying to find a number that has been taken away. So we start off always with the top number, and we're trying to take away a whole set of numbers away from this. So in this case, for our example, we have 487, and now we're going to be taking away, we're removing or subtracting or finding the difference of 295. So when we're starting this off, we need to represent what 487 is, because this is the originating number. We are taking away from 487. We're removing them. So how could we represent this using base 10 blocks? Very simply, once again, using the place value chart. Each of these numbers have a value. The 7 is the ones, the 8 is the tens, and the 4 is in the hundreds column. Now it's very simple the way to do this by using base 10 blocks. We could once again start from the right to the left. Once again, right to left. Alright, so we need to represent 487. We'll start with the ones, and it's very simple. Since each cube represents 1, in the column of the ones, we need to put 7 cubes. Okay? And there's 7. 7 cubes, very simply. Alright? That is 7. Count them all up. And there's 7 little cubes there. Each one represents 1. Now, when we move along next to the next column, these are tens. Remember, they're no longer ones. This is 80 and not 8. So, how many tens are we going to do? Very simply, we're going to take 8 of the rods and place them in the tens column. Alright, so you can see how simple this becomes. Everything is in singular form, yet they represent more. Okay, so we now have 80 cubes in the tens column. So if we count up all those cubes, there's going to be 80. Each of them, each single rod has 10, and they have all that. The next thing is the hundreds chart. So once again, we look back at our question. We have 487. Now remember that this equals 400 and not 4. So we need to go into our hundreds cubes. And this is represented by a giant square. So how many of these do we know? We need 4 of them to represent 100. So if you need to count, 1, 2, 3, 4. 400 stacks of cubes. Alright, so remember, each one of these little cubes is 1. Put them all together, it's 10 by 10. And we have 100 represented in one whole entire square. Now, we need to take away 295 of these cubes. And as you can see, some of these don't separate. But there is a method, so bear with me. Once again, we can start on the right. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to need to take away 5. Alright, so the right column, we're going to take away 5. Very simply, goodbye cubes. Okay? They go down over there. We have taken away 5. The next thing we're going to do is we need to take away 9 of these rods. However, we only have 8 of these. And this is where the regrouping comes in. We have in this column 100. There are 100 of these. So we could take this and we could replace it with 10 different rods. Okay? So we're going to take that away and we're going to find 10 more rods. Alright, so there's 3, there's 5, 7, and finally 10 right over there. Okay? So we have now borrowed. This is the regrouping method right over here that we talked about earlier. We have taken a whole 100, we've broken it down into another set of 10, and now we could finally subtract, because now we have 18. This is 10, here's 8, and now we could subtract our 9. So we could take out this 8, the originating 8, that is now gone. Goodbye. Now we're left with 10 more, and we need to take 1 away from there. So that is the 9. And what we're left with, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can see how the regrouping works. We're taking from the previous column over here and moving it, transferring it into these little rods, as opposed to having a whole entire solid 100. Alright? And now we need to take away 2 of the hundreds. Since we used 1 of those hundreds and we've regrouped them into the tens, we're now left with 3, but we still need to take away 2. So we take those away, and now we're left with the answer. We have 192. Very simple. All we've done is remove. And if we think about the regrouping method over here, at the top, if we were to calculate all this, we have 7 minus 5 is 2. We regroup over here, so we're dealing with 8. We cannot subtract 8 from 9, or 9 from 8. So we need to regroup. We cross that off. This becomes 3, as we saw with the base 10 blocks earlier. We ended up with 3. Then 10 moved all the way over to the 10, so we actually are subtracting 18 minus 9, which gives us 9. And finally, 3 minus 2 is 1 at 192, represented right here. We got 100, we got 9 in the middle, and 2 ones. Very simply done.